Hello. Today we're going to be talking about how to write for Rubric 10. So, um, this is actually the only rubric in Task 2 where the primary source of evidence is not your video. And that is why I always separate it and, of course, talk about it last, because rubrics 6, 7, 8, and 9, the primary source of information that your scorer uses comes from the video. But if you read two different places, if you read in your prompt, it'll insinuate, and so will your handbook, that you need to answer prompt 5, based on your video and use video evidence. However, if you look at the Understanding Rubric Level Progression, the URL, then you'll see that it clearly states, as it does down here, proposed changes noted by the candidate should be related to the lessons that are seen or referenced in the clips, but do not need to be exclusively from what is seen in the clips alone. This means that since only portions of the lessons will be captured by the clips, candidates can suggest changes to any part of the same lessons referenced in the clips, even if those portions of the lessons are not depicted in the clips. So this is important because you're trying to find two really good clips where hopefully you're pleased with the results. This is going to run counter to the notion that you should use the same clips to find things that you should change. And that's why it's important to understand it just needs to come from those lessons. So if you videotaped lesson and you're using 10-minute clip from lesson 1 and a 10-minute clip from lesson 4, then your changes that you suggest in this prompt need to come from lesson 1 and lesson 4, any part of those lessons. Okay, we got that cleared up. Let's take a look at the prompt. What changes would you make to your instruction for the whole class and/or for students who need greater support or challenge to better support student learning of the central focus, as in missed opportunities? Now, when you answer this question, it's important that you consider the variety of learners in your class. So this is not just students with IEPs, 504s, not just your English language learners, but also all the other types of learners that you've identified in previous prompts, your struggling readers, your underperforming students, your gifted students, your advanced learners, your those with gaps in academic knowledge, all the different types of learners. Now, as in previous prompts, it's important to pay attention to what they're asking and what they're not asking, because in this prompt, they're only asking for you to describe the changes, identify the changes that you would make in order to better support student learning. There is no need to tell why just yet. That's going to be done in 5B. It's important to be specific when answering this question and avoid making suggestions that would help any lesson, because that's one of the things that will make you score low, is if it's just way too general. So if you're saying, I would do better if I included better classroom management, well, heck, better classroom management is going to improve everything in the classroom. So that's too generalized. So you want to look for specific things that have to do with your central focus. And classroom management wasn't the central focus of your lesson now, was it? Okay, so let's take a look. So to write your response to 5A, I suggest that you do 2 paragraphs at least. The first paragraph talk about changes that you would make to your instruction for the whole group. The whole group. This is for the whole class. Consider how to better support students in relation to the central focus, and consider missed opportunities. What observations do you base this on? So talk about the parts of the lesson that you could have approached in a better way. Talk about any opportunities that you missed. This is what would help the whole group. And in paragraph 2, also in relation to the central focus and considering missed opportunities, and what observations do you base this on, you need to now talk about changes that would better support students who need extra support. So all those special groups of students. And you might need more than 2 paragraphs, and that's fine. This is a minimum. Here's an example of someone who answered 5A very well. Notice that this person has bolded the words clip 2 and the timestamp. And she talks about some changes she would make with her Venn diagram. And then she goes on to give another example or two. And then so this first paragraph is just she followed my suggestion and talked about the whole group here, and then special groups down there. 5B. So with 5B, what I've done is I've given you a organizer to help you think about how to answer this question. So instead of giving you an outline, you've got an organizer. Why? Whoops, sorry about that. Okay. Why do you think these changes would improve student learning? Support your explanation with evidence of student learning and principles from theory or rationale. So, suggestions for the whole group. This is where you start. In your first paragraph, you can talk about your suggestions that you made in 5A. Now you're referring, you said that this is what you should do in 5A, right? For the whole group. Now, what are you basing that on? What's your reasoning? And then do you have a rationale, research, theory to back up your reasoning? Then your second paragraph, you would be referring to the changes that you suggested for special groups, observations that you base that on, your reasoning, your theory, and rationale. Here's an example. So this person goes through and explains why they think that creating the visual reminder using the Venn diagram. Notice that she goes down here and she says, words are abstract and rather difficult for the brain to retain, whereas visuals are concrete and as such more easily remembered, and she quotes. And then she starts talking about Piaget's cognitive stages of development. Very good, very appropriate for elementary. And there she's got questions. She's got, very good support for her decisions that she's made. Good job. Let's take a look at the rubric. So this rubric, I've not shown you level 1 because none of us are going to do level 1, are we? Going to do level 2, 3, 4, and 5. So first of all, to get a level 4, it's and a level 3, this top part up here is important to look at. Candidates proposed changes that address students' collective learning needs. That's what you wrote in 5A and 5B. And a candidate proposes changes that address individual collective needs. That was in the second paragraph of 5A. And then 5B, you want to hit the 4, and then candidate justifies changes using principles from research and theory, makes connections to research and theory. So the way this rubric is set up, this is actually the primary criteria of this rubric, and this is the secondary. So you want to make sure that you get this done and then make a good argument. So ask yourself if the changes you propose would benefit any lesson. Because if it would benefit any lesson, like pacing, I need to move up my pacing. I need to keep kids on task. Well, all those things are going to improve it. So you want to look for specific things. They're targeted. Okay. You want to propose specific changes for the whole group. And that's how you get a 3, is talking about changes for the whole group. If you want to make changes that are specific for individuals, that's how you get a 4. And although research is important, the most important thing is to have good strategies that relate to your central focus. Keep that in mind. You can't make a 5 without good solid research and theory, but you're not going to make the most important part of answering prompt 5 is to make sure that the things that you suggest are related to your central focus. So that brings us to the end of task 2. And I know that you all are working hard, and keep up the good work, and I'll see you in class.